Okay, good morning. Sunday morning, the 9th, as I record this. Um, this will be posted and ready either today, the 9th, or starting the week at the 10th. So, this week's topic, according to our syllabus, is challenges with big data. Um, and as you know, my focus for this course is for you to think like a researcher and find out what's gone on in the research according to these topics. But um, I've said it before. I want to say it again. The term research is used very broadly. I think um, reading some of your discussion posts and papers, um, you think you're thinking of research that is really just development, really. When Apache adds some new capability to Spark or Hadoop, or Microsoft adds some new capability to Power BI, it's it's not really research. So it might help going forward, since you're all in a program to learn to be researchers. It might help to read 5 or 10 or 20 different definitions of what research is and different types of research. Um, for example, you write a research paper for a master's degree, and really you're just going out and you are learning about that topic for yourself, and that can be called research. I researched that topic. Okay, got it. And you might even think of that exercise where you went out and you read 10 articles on a given topic. You might have thought of that as a research project, but it's just because the word research is overused. That's not a research project. A research project is like the structure that I've been trying to get everyone to understand. You see a problem out there. You see what other researchers have worked on in that area, that have helped define it to be a problem. You you look for recommended areas of future research into that problem, and that recommended future research isn't like the master's degree research paper research. It's not just recommending that everybody go out and read a topic. It's recommending that actual research projects are conducted, like a qualitative evaluation of people's perceptions of something as to why that's a problem, or people's perceptions of possible solutions to that problem. That would be a qualitative research project. Or you could do something that's a no kidding hardcore experimental design, where you've got a null hypothesis, where there's your null hypothesis could be that there's no difference before and after training in visualization among perceptions of business data by executives. And then you do an experiment. You show a group of executives some data before they have training, and then you show another group of executives that same set of data after they have training on how to read charts or whatever. And then you collect data, you analyze the data, you publish the results of the data you collected. That's a research project. Okay. And that's what you need to understand, that there are differences in research and you need to write about them differently. There could be, a structured, focused literature review could be considered a research project because you're going out and you're putting some sort of metrics or figures or numbers associated with um, journal articles that have been published in the past that focus on a given topic. You could quantify the number, the methodological approaches. You could go look at, every big data research journal article out there in the last 3 years. You know, maybe that search brings back 700 articles. You could do a focused literature review research project that would categorize all of those articles into either, framework propositions or literature reviews or qualitative research projects or quantitative research projects or proposed theoretical frameworks. So you could do a focused literature review that is a research project, but just going out and reading literature um, isn't really adding to the body of knowledge. You know what I mean? Think of it that way. A real research project, a true original research project adds knowledge, normally based on data. Now that it can be looking at existing data in a new way, in some fresh way. Um, but very often it's collecting new data that is designed to answer a research question. So when I saw research questions, what is data analysis? That's a dictionary definition. That's not something that you would go out and collect data and answer the question based on uh, the data you collected. So I just wanted to encourage everyone to get serious reading the literature and thinking like a researcher. Like what do PhDs really do for a living? Publishing their research. Okay, when they publish their research, it's not a book report. Okay, they're not out there just publishing, a term paper of a definition. Now, you know, some are publishing things like textbooks. That's a good thing, but that's not really the results of their research. That's sharing what they know. When you write an overview article like that, it's not new research. It's not publishing the results of research, regardless of the nature of that research. So start thinking more like researchers, reading these sources. Some of you are citing things that you obviously did not read, have not read the article. You're just sticking a citation in there, uh, faking it to make it try and look like an academic paper. But the author that you're citing's bottom line had nothing to do with what you're talking about. So there you go. All right. So that's my soapbox. That's the sermon for this Sunday. Um, uh, get real when it comes to the literature. Start spending more time in it and understanding what you're reading and what the author's point is. You'll even start to see why some journals are not highly rated and that some of the stuff in them is not particularly high quality. One of the students in this class and I have been having a discussion about the dubious quality of some journal articles. So be discerning. You need to have an analytical mind when you're reading this literature, just like you do as a data scientist or data analyst. Okay, moving on. Um, this week's discussion topic is challenges of big data, and I just have one slide on that to frame the discussion, and then we'll move on to basically our last 3 assignments for the course, and I'll go over them to make sure, because we're almost done here, guys. We got this week and a couple of days next week, and we're done. So some of you are teetering on the edge and very concerned about your GPA and your grade, and that's a good thing that you're concerned. But we've got almost of the um, almost half of the points of the course still to be had. So if you take the rest of the course seriously and take my feedback to heart and actually act on it, not just beg for forgiveness or beg to resubmit something. I don't allow resubmissions, by the way. Uh, um, but if you take my feedback to heart and you give this course its due and you give a PhD program its proper respect, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just takes time and effort. That's all, time and hard work. Okay, so the challenges of big data. I went ahead and went out there. If you Google the 5 V's of big data, you'll see dozens of little diagrams. I grabbed one of them off the net here. Now, if this was an APA paper, of course, I would have this figure cited in APA format with the source, but it's not. It's just a chart in a presentation. So I'm sure you'll see this particular one. I thought it was good because it actually had some of the underlying components of the 5 V's for your um, information. So yeah, we talked about the 3 V's: velocity, volume, and variety. But there's there's never been a buzzword or a concept or framework or a theory or whatever that wasn't made to be extended by other people, other authors. So of course they're going to add V's to it. I saw, as I found this diagram, I saw another one with 8 V's. So they're just adding, and but it's good food for thought. It's good food for thought. None of this is necessarily a particularly copyrighted. It's all just, the academic community of experts just kind of working together, sort of like a committee. Um, but you are seeing these things codified somewhat because it shows up in the literature, and you have certain works that become seminal because um, they were valuable and original, and other authors started to cite them. That's what I talk about in Google Scholar. You can see how many times something has been cited, and you can tell somewhat um, the wheat from the chaff. So you've got challenges with all of these 5 V's, and that's what we're getting at with both the week 7 discussion and your final research paper. Are these 5 V's and the challenges they present. So, of course, velocity data is being created and presented to analysts, data scientists, um, at an incredible velocity. We've had that previously in the course. The amount of data that is created every day is staggering when you look across the internet. All the banks, all the purchases, the credit card swipes, and the doop 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 at the Walmart, and the internet searches, and the texts, and the uploads, and the likes, and the amount of video footage being filmed by every police officer body cam and traffic camera and satellites and radar stations, and just staggering. Um, but anyway, so you can have data coming in batches. Some processes post data regularly in batch format, which is the kind of the exact opposite of real time or near real time. You've got uh, um, manufacturing processes, purchasing, e-commerce, e-government processes, the internet itself processing traffic, authentication, verification, validation, um, um, just the amount of packets and the TCP/IP data going back and forth over the internet. Um, Incredible. So, and then you have streaming data, whether that's streams coming from sensors in real time, streams from air traffic control systems and autonomous vehicles and uh, video, like I said, video cameras or microphones. There's just incredible velocity of data coming at you, and the speed at which it's coming at you is different than volume, sheer volume. Um, and then two, one of the newer V's that we haven't really discussed is the value. You know, Businesses, organizations, the government. You have to decide on the value. What has to be assessed in real time? What can be cached and used for statistical research later? Particular events in your data architecture might have more value than others. Could be um, trending hashtags that you want to jump on that event maybe when a certain number of logins happen. Um, it could take you could take action within your architecture, perhaps. The you know the the value of the data and its potential has to be looked at in terms of um, you know opportunities or perhaps even risk reduction, risk mitigation. And then veracity is all about the, the the truthfulness of the data. That's a good word to Google. Is the data trustworthy? And this could get into somewhat easily could get into the whole cybersecurity side of things. Do authenticity? Do you know who created the data? We run into that in social media all the time. But um, you know, even a good machine learning classifier that's doing like spam identification um, needs to can look at telltale signs to see if something is an authentic email from within the enterprise or it's potentially spam, external source, or inauthentic. Uh, I fell for a virus that was one of the very first widespread viruses I remember. This would have been circa 97 or 98. It was called Melissa. It was a Microsoft Word um, macro virus that would reach into, if you clicked on that Word document, and everybody knows now, but 22 years ago, we were kind of new with this whole internet thing. If you clicked on the link, it would send a copy of itself attached to an email that looked authentic, and it would say like, "Hey, contact name, check out this document," or something like that. So it looked like it looked authentic. It looked like it came from um, your um, your coworker. But of course, it spread like crazy. We had to shut everything down, clean everything, and then come back up in the next day or two. But anyway, the authenticity of data and that writ large, you could have potentially inauthentic data injected into a process or injected into a corporation, and they could be acting on inauthentic, unauthentic, non-authentic data. So uh, where the data came from, origin, reputation. That leads to kind of like the personal data veracity, as far as the amount of information that's coming at any individual worker or individual citizen. But then it also, the availability of the data, as far as backups and whatnot, and accountability. Uh, we all should certainly be accountable for uh, the data that we're producing and consuming and using. Certainly, that data accountability runs into like GDPR and companies being accountable for the data that they create and house and protect on your behalf. So these are all challenges, right? These are all potential problems. Uh, just keep that in mind now, because we'll be talking about it and writing about it. And then yeah, the variety of data. I think that of the five V's, that one is the most fascinating to me, because it opens up to me the largest um, potential for growth and research and change, and it's the most disruptive to me. You've got these different types of data coming in. You've got and you have to have somewhat different repositories ready for it. If you've got structured data, you don't necessarily need some artificially intelligent, unstructured, magic machine to make sense of it. So you've got, but if you do have unstructured data, you do need to incorporate some sort of, uh, you know, text mining and categorizing of this stuff out there, along with your more conventional, trustworthy, structured data. Um, Multi-factor. Uh, uh, you've got different metadata that you can associate with different types of data. So not only does the data change, the metadata, the data about the data changes. So you've got to adapt your processes and processing to cope with that. And then probabilistic is just the probability theory. From 0 to 1, coin flip is zero point 0.5. The probability of if a of an event happening, and then you have multiple event probability. Um, so yeah, the variety of data, to me, it's more about um, data coming in different formats. You might have structured data, but it might be in 30 different structures that you're trying to deal with. And then you've got the unstructured video data, and the the different ways that you can import data from social media, and all of these different APIs from different companies like Google and Facebook and Apple and TikTok and Instagram and so it might be semi-structured or structured, but by the time you bring it in, you've got so many different structures that it's virtually unstructured. So variety, how to deal with the variety of data that's coming at an organization would be another challenge. And then you've got different architectures for the different varieties of data. You've got things like MongoDB that are good for maybe XML and JSON files, and they can parse through those tags and start to assemble almost, in Mongo query language, almost artificially intelligent questions and answers, kind of like Watson was doing, IBM's learning machine was doing with Jeopardy. It's just text mining and looking at the keywords and where they fell within natural language processing structures, and what the likelihood was, the odds were, probability that two terms associated with each other were the answer to a question, all in real time. All had to be processed in real time. The question had to be analyzed, and then the answer had to be analyzed. So among a variety of data. So there you go. And then volume, like we've talked about. The standard of measurement for large files. Used to be megabytes, and then it turned into gig and tera, peta, and exa. And um, what 20 years ago, maybe a little more, um, a large drive was maybe what 10 gig drive, something like that. And now you've got 10 gigabyte files easily. So you've got the unit relatively speaking, the volume of the total amount of data is increasing, certainly, but even the volume of each individual file or database table, or like Excel. I'm trying to remember, was it 16 billion cells you can have in Excel now? In the latest, I think 2016. I don't use anything close to that for Excel, but the volume that these tools are capable of handling, and then of course you've got um, the only way to handle this is elastic cloud resources, um, because you probably, unless you're the NSA, you probably don't want to build the infrastructure to house all of this forever. So you can use cloud computing to instantiate um, multiple Hadoop clusters, and have similar structures of the data spread across multiple machines that you're analyzing according to the same rule set. Um, and machine learning, you can't have humans categorizing that volume of data. So the newer, more advanced concepts, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, those are the future of this sort of stuff. So these are the challenges of big data. Um, it can be tempting for these upcoming assignments to just provide an overview of this stuff. If you don't create an outline, you will likely get started and spend too much time on overview, and you will not succeed in getting the amount of points that you might if you take a little bit of time, take a half an hour, and actually plan out what you're going to write before you write it. Like I said last week, neither of these, I wrote all of these assignments I wrote from scratch. Okay, so they're not out there for you to take advantage of on Course Hero. Um, this week I saw the same overview paper for, what was it? I think your week 5 papers. I saw the same paper 25 times. Um, and they were all bad, and they all got bad grades because you weren't starting with an outline. So I'm hoping that everyone takes these final assignments seriously and brings up their grade. But I'm prepared for the opposite to happen. So, as they say, the ball is in your court. So, those are the challenges of big data and more. And if you go out and you start reading, you will find much more detail um, than I was able to lay out there. I just wanted to, put the topic out in front of you so that you understand what I'm talking about. The 5 V's of big data, and the challenges that they present um, organizations and workers. Okay, so this week you have something due that is not new. None of you are in your first semester at Cumberland's, I don't believe. If you are, remind me, shoot me an email and say, but Professor, this is my first semester. Most of you have seen this required practical connection assignment. You should have. It's required for every course. Okay, so because it's required for every course, it can be tempting to use one that you've turned in before. But again, that's not going to yield proper results or the results that you might hope for. So for me, for this course, I would like to see a 2-page memo. Okay, so no, not an APA format, no need for a title page, no need for a reference page, no need for APA formatted references, no need for citations. Okay, this is the easiest 100 points in your entire PhD program if you take it seriously. If you don't, it's the easiest thing for me to press 0 on and say, I'm sorry, I'm unable to give you any points on this because it wasn't for real. Okay, so start with a clean Word document and start typing. Dear Dr. Walker, ITS836 in the summer of 2020 was interesting and rewarding to me because blah, blah, blah. And then write your paper. Okay? Write it from scratch, write it yourself, and let me know these 3 things. Okay? A 2-page professional memo that addresses each of these. And notice that I underlined specific, right? Specific. The more specific you are, the easier it'll be for me to give you a 100. Okay? Specific areas of the course that helped you at work, helped you in your professional life. Okay? It can be very specific, something that you could write a half a page on something that a topic that came up in class discussion that you were able to use in a business meeting or a professional discussion. It's up to you, but include how and why they helped you. Not just I learned a lot about data science. Okay, this is specific doctoral level writing, specific how and why they help you at work or in your professional life. Okay. And then I want you to cover specific points that a classmate or I raised in class discussion that you found particularly valuable and include the date. One of the discussion posts posted by Douglas on July 8th was something about something, and it was valuable to you. You thought it just it inspired thought. It expanded your thinking of where you're going to go with your dissertation. Could be anything, but be specific, and tell us. This is a two page memo, so maybe 2 or 3 points that either a classmate or I raised in class discussion that you found particularly valuable. Okay. And of course, why did you find them valuable? Yeah. And then finally, going forward, specifically, what are your primary concerns, worries, issues, hopes, dreams about the rest of the PhD IT program? And, when I think of that, I'm not worried about coursework. I would be worried about the dissertation project if I were you. So specifically, going forward, what are your concerns? It may be something, if it's genuine, I may be able to actually, provide a link or some assistance or whatever. But if you are looking for particular advice, probably best to shoot me an email rather than put it in your assignment. Okay, so that is the practical connection assignment. It's from you to me, and it's real. And it involves this course this summer that we all sat through. Okay. Now, if it sounds like I'm being, over the top, it's because I've failed so many students for turning in fake practical connection assignments. Something this easy, and they'll still fake it. And then, oh, I'm sorry, please let me start it in again. No, no, this is easy unless you don't take it seriously. So there you are. Easiest assignment any PhD candidate ever had. Okay, so this week we will have a discussion post that is very closely related to your final research projects, your final research papers. Sorry, not research projects. Um, this week, please share two peer-reviewed journal articles that address specific areas of these big data challenges. So if you go on, the library website, I always start with Google Scholar. But I was doing just some searching in there. If you type in big data veracity, bang, you wind up with 6 or 8. Um, but make sure that whatever return you're looking at, whether it's the university library website or Google Scholar, please make sure that it's a full text. We can get the text of it. So and upload the full text version. Or if you find something, sometimes Science Direct has things that are more like an article, not really something you can download. So if you find something that you think is intellectually worthwhile, that's not really a PDF journal article, but it's close, you can provide a clickable link. But for the two resources that you are sharing, um, uh, accompany them with a your brief overview. Don't cut and paste the abstract. Um, your overview of the article and why you think it's valuable. Why is it valuable? Remembering that you're going to be using it in the next assignment, um, our final research paper. Okay, so don't just pick any article, and don't just post it and say that here's an article on big data. Okay, they need to be specific to one of the areas of big data challenges. Please don't provide overview articles. Try and find stuff that was particular to one of the 5 V's. Okay, so include your overview and why, and your assessment of why you chose it and why you think it applies to the week 8 assignment. You got that? Why'd you choose it? Remember why you're choosing it? You're choosing it so that you can help each other gather references to help with your final research paper. Okay? That's that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty easy. So we'll do the instructions for the week 8 research paper now, or the final research paper, and that should guide what you share in your week 7 discussion. Okay. This is not due this week. This is due middle of next week. Okay. Wednesday, August 19th by midnight Eastern Daylight Time. And the assignment will be in your week 8 folder, which is not yet visible. Okay. So it's 30% of your grade. The practical connection assignment's 10% of your grade. So that's 40% of your grade right there. Okay. So coming up here, guys, if you've just been faking it, trying, hoping that I won't be reading your papers, it's time to turn on the gas. Okay. It's time to step on the gas and show me what you got. Show me that you're worthy of being called doctor. Okay. This final research paper is going to be just a 5-page focused literature review. Okay. And I want you to address, notice in bold print, one of the 5 V's of big data. Okay. So that's why you're sharing resources. There's almost 30 of you. There should be lots and lots and lots and lots of resources out there, references, with a nice little overview for you all to share and use in your papers. Now, of course, if I start seeing papers that are alike, like I did in week 5, it won't go well. So I would advise that if you're in a study group or on any kind of social media or anything like that, in touch with each other, that you work independently, because it's getting some folks into trouble. Okay, so your 5-page paper, which is due Wednesday, August 19th, will be about one of the five V's of big data, um, and it addresses research. Remember the speech at the beginning of this presentation. Research into them, not just overview information of them, but actual research projects. How are companies addressing variety? Are they, how are, and how are researchers looking at that? How are researchers determining the efficiency of the way that organizations are dealing with variety? You get it? This is going to take some reading. This is going to take hours and, of getting into the literature and figuring this out and analyzing it and making sense out of it. Okay. So, no more than half a page on introducing big data and the definition of the 5 V's. Okay, don't waste your paper like so many of you did on business intelligence and big data. On overview, I don't want to hear it. We all know what it is. Don't waste a lot of space on that. Okay, and then no more than a page defining the V that you're writing about. Okay, so and why that's good practice is because you should be writing about it as to why it's a challenge, why it's a problem, according to authors. Why is variety a problem? And then cite the author and make sure that the author's actually discussing why that V is. There's so many fake citations. It just, man, it's frustrating. You just stick one in there to try and make it look like an academic paper. Okay. So one page defining the V that you're writing about, and why, of course you would certainly address, why that's a problem. And then the next, 3.5, 4 pages, uh, again, this is a 5-page paper. It's not a 10-page paper. It's not even a 7-page paper. Okay. Be succinct. Um, but the following pages, I would like for you to review 3 to 5 projects in your one single V area. Again, research projects, okay, where they went out, they collected data, and they produced some findings, added to uh, the uh, the body of knowledge, okay. And if you get into one of the V's and you can't find articles, go to a different V. Don't stretch what you've got into nonsense because you couldn't find what you were looking for. Move on. That's what literature reviews are about. It takes time, lots and lots and lots and lots of time. I would get on this immediately if I were you. Guys, 30% of your grade, and if it's garbage, that's it. Turn out the lights. The party is over. Okay? So take this seriously. All right, so focus on the project's research question or purpose and the findings and recommended future research. You should be able to do all of that in a page for each article. So in 3.5 to 4 pages remaining after your very brief introduction, you should be able to summarize these research projects and uh, and talk about them as if you are reviewing that literature, not as if you are part of that research team. I was still seeing papers that said, in this study, we propose a new framework, and they got zeros because you weren't part of a research, you weren't one of the authors. Why would you write that in your paper if you weren't part of the team? It's just, uh, it's just so easy to write originally. Um, it's probably less work than trying to assemble these Frankenstein papers. So anyway, yeah, we've got what, 40, 42.5% of the course grade remaining, maybe a little more, including that week 8 uh, final final post. So the grade for the course is at stake here. If you have any questions, don't Guess. Don't hope that you're turning in something. Shoot me an email. Okay. I check my email a couple times a day. Um, some of you have written me questions that I couldn't answer because you didn't give me any background information. But when you send me a complete question, um, I can help you. Now, if you say, I don't understand the instructions for the final research paper, I can't help you. That's not specific enough. If you literally do not understand any of this, maybe that's a sign that you need to do more background research on research. So anyway, specific questions, please. I would love to help make sure that you're on the right path. And again, remember, I don't allow resubmissions. Don't even ask. Uh, Please don't ask 3 times, which has happened. Um, uh, Going into this, the expectations are high. They don't, if getting a doctorate was easy, everybody would be doing it. All right. So, if there are any questions or concerns, please email me, and I will, I will let you know. If you aren't sure, send me an email. Be sure, that you're headed in the right direction for any of these issues. But honestly, guys, you know, uh, for PhDs, this is all easy. This is straightforward stuff. Okay, I will see you all online.